The barracks buzzed with the usual mix of chatter and activity as alien soldiers prepared for their next mission. It was a scene of organized chaos, with different species working side by side, united by the Interstellar Alliance. Into this scene stepped a new figure, a human, small in stature compared to the towering aliens around him. The alien soldiers paused, their eyes locking onto the newcomer. Snickers and murmurs spread like wildfire. The new recruit, a young man named Ethan Clarke, stood awkwardly at the entrance. His human features, so different from the other species, made him an instant target for mockery. "Hey, look, it's the Earthling. Did they send him here to take notes or fight?" One of the alien soldiers, a bulky creature known as a Zurak, sneered. Ethan remained silent, his expression calm. He had anticipated this reaction. Humans were a rarity in the Alliance's elite forces, and his presence here was met with skepticism. Lieutenant thwart, the squad leader, a tall and muscular alien with a stern expression, approached Ethan. "You better prove your worth, human," thwart said, his voice a deep growl. "This isn't Earth. We fight for real out here." Ethan nodded. "I'm ready, sir." The lieutenant narrowed his eyes but said nothing more. He motioned for Ethan to follow him to the armory. As Ethan suited up, he thought about his journey to this point. Back on Earth, he had been one of the best in his unit, but here, among these seasoned alien warriors, he was just another rookie. He knew he had to prove himself, not just to the squad, but to himself. The first mission briefing was intense. The squad was being sent to a distant moon to investigate a distress signal from a mining colony. Reports suggested an attack by unknown forces. The mission was straightforward: assess, neutralize the threat, and secure the colony. As the drop ship descended onto the barren, rocky landscape of the moon, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He gripped his rifle tightly, aware of the skeptical glances from his squad mates. "Stay close, rookie," thwart commanded as they disembarked. "This is no place for mistakes." Ethan nodded, his senses on high alert. The mining colony loomed ahead, a cluster of metal structures against the harsh, desolate terrain. The squad moved in, weapons ready. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ground. The unknown attackers had set up an ambush. From the shadows emerged a swarm of mechanical drones, their red eyes glowing menacingly. "Engage," thwart ordered, and the squad sprang into action. Ethan's training kicked in. He aimed his rifle and fired, taking down several drones with precise shots. His movements were fluid, his mind focused. He wasn't just a rookie. He was a soldier. As the battle raged on, Ethan found himself side by side with thwart. The lieutenant glanced at him, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Ethan's skill was undeniable. The drones were relentless, but the squad fought with determination. With Ethan's help, they managed to push back the attackers, securing the colony. The battle was over, but the real fight for respect had just begun. Back at the barracks, the atmosphere had changed. The squad no longer saw Ethan as just a human, they saw him as a comrade. thwart approached him, his expression unreadable. "You fought well, Ethan," he said finally. "Welcome to the squad." Ethan smiled, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. He had earned his place among these alien warriors. But he knew this was just the beginning. There were more challenges ahead, and he was ready to face them. The squad's success on the moon mission had not gone unnoticed. Back at the base, whispers of the human rookie's skill spread quickly. Some of the alien soldiers still harbored doubts, but many had started to see Ethan as an asset rather than a liability. Their next mission was far more dangerous. Intelligence reports had identified a rogue faction operating in a remote sector of space. This faction, composed of various species that had broken away from the Alliance, was rumored to be developing a powerful weapon capable of devastating entire planets. Lieutenant Torek gathered the squad for the briefing. A holographic map of the sector flickered to life in the center of the room. "Our target is an abandoned space station," Torek began. "The rogue faction has taken control of it and is using it as a base of operations. Our mission is to infiltrate, gather intelligence, and, if necessary, neutralize the threat." Ethan listened intently, absorbing every detail. This mission was critical, and failure was not an option. The journey to the space station was tense. The squad knew they were heading into hostile territory. As they approached the station, its dark silhouette loomed against the backdrop of distant stars. The station had been abandoned for decades, its once gleaming surfaces now tarnished and worn. The squad disembarked from their ship and moved stealthily through the station's dimly lit corridors. The air was thick with the scent of decay and neglect. The only sounds were the faint hum of the station's old machinery and the occasional creak of metal. Ethan kept his rifle ready, his senses on high alert. He knew that danger could lurk around any corner. They reached the control room, where they expected to find valuable data on the rogue faction's activities. But as they entered, the room was suddenly flooded with light, and they found themselves surrounded by enemy forces. The rogue soldiers were well equipped and clearly prepared for a fight. Torek quickly took command. "Form a defensive line. Protect the data terminals." Ethan positioned himself behind a console, using it as cover. He fired at the enemies, his shots precise and calculated. The battle was fierce, with both sides taking heavy losses. As the fight dragged on, Ethan noticed something strange. A group of rogue soldiers was trying to access the station's core systems. He realized that they were attempting to activate the weapon they had been developing. "Lieutenant, they're going for the weapon," Ethan shouted over the noise of battle. Torek turned to him, a look of alarm crossing his face. "We can't let that happen. Ethan, you're with me." The two of them broke away from the main fight and charged toward the core systems. They encountered heavy resistance, but their determination drove them forward. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as they fought their way through the station. Finally, they reached the control room where the rogue leader was attempting to activate the weapon. The leader, a towering figure with cybernetic enhancements, turned to face them. "You can't stop us," the leader sneered. "The weapon will be ours, and the Alliance will fall." Ethan and Torek exchanged a glance. They knew they had to act fast. With a burst of speed, Ethan lunged at the leader, knocking him off balance. Torek followed up with a powerful strike, sending the leader crashing into a console. The rogue soldiers who had been guarding the room hesitated, their morale shaken by the sight of their leader's defeat. Ethan quickly accessed the terminal and began deactivating the weapon. His hands moved swiftly, inputting commands to shut down the system. The tension in the room was palpable as the seconds ticked by. Finally, with a loud beep, the system powered down. The weapon was deactivated. Torek breathed a sigh of relief and clapped Ethan on the back. "You did it, rookie. You saved us all." The remaining rogue soldiers, seeing that their leader had been defeated and the weapon deactivated, surrendered. The squad quickly secured the station and began gathering the data they needed. As they returned to their ship, Ethan felt a sense of pride. He had proven himself once again, not just as a soldier, but as a valuable member of the squad. After the successful mission at the space station, the squad returned to the base with valuable intel on the rogue faction. The data revealed a disturbing truth. The faction had far more resources and support than the Alliance had initially believed. They were a growing threat, and their next move could be catastrophic. Commander Zera, a seasoned leader with years of experience, called the squad into the war room. The holographic map of the galaxy displayed several marked locations, each representing a known or suspected rogue faction base. Our intel suggests that the faction is planning a coordinated attack on multiple Alliance outposts, Commander Zera explained. If they succeed, it could destabilize the entire region. Ethan studied the map, noting the strategic importance of each outpost. He could see why the faction had chosen these targets. They were key to maintaining the Alliance's influence in the sector. "We need to strike first," Torok said, his voice firm. "We take out their main base before they can launch their attack." Commander Zera nodded. "That's the plan. We'll hit them hard and fast. But be warned, their defenses will be strong, and they'll be expecting us." The squad prepared for what would be their most dangerous mission yet. As they boarded their ship, the tension was palpable. Each member knew the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. The journey to the rogue faction's main base was filled with anticipation. The base was located on a remote planet, hidden deep within a nebula that made detection difficult. As they approached, the squad activated their cloaking systems, hoping to avoid detection until they were close enough to strike. The base was heavily fortified, with turrets and patrols guarding every entrance. The squad landed a safe distance away and began their approach on foot, moving silently through the thick underbrush that surrounded the base. Ethan's heart raced as they neared the perimeter. He knew that once they engaged the enemy, there would be no turning back. "Stay sharp," Torok whispered, signaling for the squad to spread out and take up positions. The plan was simple: create a diversion to draw the enemy's attention while a small team infiltrated the base and disabled its defenses. Ethan was part of the infiltration team, along with Torok and 2 other squad members. As the diversion team launched their attack, explosions rocked the base and alarms blared. The enemy forces scrambled to respond, leaving the infiltration team with a narrow window of opportunity. Ethan and his team moved quickly, slipping through the chaos and entering the base undetected. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, and the air was thick with tension. They knew that every second counted. Ethan and his team moved quickly, slipping through the chaos and entering the base undetected. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, and the air was thick with tension. They knew that every second counted. They reached the control room, where they found a group of engineers working frantically to bring the base's defenses online. Ethan took the lead, neutralizing the engineers with precision shots. The team then set to work disabling the turrets and other defensive systems. But as they worked, they realized that something was wrong. The base's power levels were fluctuating, and strange readings were coming from deep within the facility. "There's something else here," Ethan said, his voice filled with concern. Torok frowned, checking the readings on his device. "You're right. It looks like another weapon, but it's not fully operational yet." Ethan's mind raced. If the faction had another weapon, they needed to find it and destroy it before it could be used. The team split up, with Ethan and Torok heading deeper into the base while the others finished disabling the defenses. As they ventured deeper, the lights flickered, and the air grew colder. It was clear that they were getting closer to whatever was causing the strange readings. They finally reached a large chamber, where they found the weapon, a massive, ominous machine pulsing with energy. The room was filled with cables and machinery, all feeding into the weapon. Ethan's eyes widened as he realized what it was: a planet killer. If activated, it could wipe out entire planets in a single shot. "We need to destroy this thing," Ethan said, his voice urgent. Torok nodded. "Set the charges. We can't let this thing survive." As they worked, the ground suddenly shook, and the chamber's doors slammed shut. The rogue faction's leader, the same cybernetically enhanced figure they had faced before, stepped out from the shadows. "You won't stop us this time," the leader hissed, drawing a weapon. "This ends now." Ethan and Torek exchanged a glance. They knew they were in for the fight of their lives. The rogue leader's cybernetic enhancements made him a formidable opponent, but Ethan and Torek were ready. They had faced him before and knew his strengths and weaknesses. The chamber echoed with the sounds of battle as blaster fire and the clash of metal filled the air. Ethan moved with speed and precision, his shots aimed at the leader's weak points. But the leader was relentless, his cybernetics giving him an edge in both strength and speed. Torek, with his brute strength, engaged the leader in close combat, forcing him to divide his attention between the two attackers. Ethan used this to his advantage, targeting the leader's cybernetic limbs, hoping to disable him. The leader fought back with ferocity, but he was no match for the combined skills of Ethan and Torek. As the battle raged on, Ethan spotted an opening. With a well-aimed shot, he hit the leader's control module, causing his systems to malfunction. The leader staggered, his movements becoming erratic. Torek seized the opportunity, delivering a powerful blow that sent the leader crashing to the ground. "It's over," Ethan said, his voice steady as he approached the fallen leader. The leader looked up at him, a mixture of rage and defiance in his eyes. "You'll never stop us," he spat. Ethan's expression hardened. "We just did." With the leader defeated, Ethan and Torek quickly set the charges around the weapon. They knew they had little time before the base's remaining forces would regroup and counterattack. As they finished setting the charges, the chamber's doors suddenly opened, and the rest of the squad rushed in, their weapons at the ready. The diversion team had held off the enemy long enough for them to complete their mission. "Time to go," Torek shouted as they activated the charges and began their escape. The squad raced through the base, the sound of alarms and the rumble of explosions filling the air. They reached the surface just as the charges detonated, sending a massive shockwave through the base. The weapon, along with the entire facility, was obliterated in a blinding explosion. The squad's ship, already prepared for a quick getaway, lifted off just as the base was consumed by fire and debris. As they flew away from the planet, Ethan looked out at the destruction below. They had stopped the rogue faction's plans, but he knew that the threat was far from over. Back at the base, the squad was debriefed by Commander Zera. The mission had been a success, but the victory was bittersweet. The rogue faction had been dealt a major blow, but they were still out there, regrouping and planning their next move. Ethan felt a deep sense of responsibility. He had proven himself in battle, but the war was far from over. He knew that the squad would face even greater challenges in the future, and he was determined to be ready for them. Weeks passed, and the squad continued to train and prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the rogue faction. The Alliance had gained the upper hand, but the enemy was still a threat, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Ethan had fully integrated into the squad. He was no longer the rookie. They now saw him as an equal, a warrior who had earned his place among them. Even Torek, who had once doubted him, now treated him with respect and camaraderie. One evening, as the squad gathered around a campfire during a training exercise on a distant moon, Torek turned to Ethan with a serious expression. "There's something you should know, Ethan," Torek began. "The rogue faction is planning something big. We've intercepted communications that suggest they're building a new weapon, something even more powerful than the one we destroyed." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Do we know where?" Torek shook his head. "Not yet. But when we find out, we need to be ready. This will be the fight of our lives." Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. "We'll be ready." The squad continued their preparations, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They knew that the future held more challenges, but they were united in their purpose. Finally, the day came when the Alliance received the intel they had been waiting for. The rogue faction's base of operations had been located on a remote, uncharted planet. The Alliance was mobilizing its forces for a final assault, and the squad was at the forefront of the mission. As they boarded their ship for what could be their last mission, Ethan felt a sense of calm determination. He had come a long way since his days as the rookie, and he knew that he was ready for whatever the galaxy threw at him. The ship approached the planet, its surface shrouded in darkness. The squad prepared for the final battle, knowing that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. As they descended into the atmosphere, Ethan looked at his squad mates as friends, his comrades, and felt a deep sense of pride. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious time and time again. And now, they were about to face their greatest challenge yet. The ship touched down, and the squad disembarked, ready to fight. The final battle was about to begin, and Ethan knew that no matter the outcome, they would face it together. With a deep breath, Ethan raised his rifle and led the charge into the unknown, ready to face the rising dawn of a new era for the galaxy.